Hi, Rachel. I'm Mariana. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
So I watched the movie last night. I have thoughts.
Oh my goodness, I hope you liked it.
I did. I will say the very beginning, the dinner party, I feel like is very different from the rest of the movie because we see it from Valerie and Doug's point of view of what they're presenting, and then we see that their reality is very different from reality. So that's very interesting. But I read that when you started working from home, you became a bit of a lurker in a sense with your neighbors. What was that like? What's kind of the craziest story that you came up about one of your neighbors?
Oh, I mean, I have fully formed backstories and personalities and plot lines for these people who I do not know me. There's a dog across the street that I see out the window that I've just like written. I've written a whole identity for this dog that I've never even seen in person, which I think is a quintessential New York pastime, is like seeing the same people, not knowing them, and writing a version of their life for yourself, for your own enjoyment.
Yes. But what stories do you think your neighbors came up about you if they're lurking on you?
Oh my goodness. I think I'm the perfect neighbor. I'm sure they never think about me. They never hear me. They don't hear my guitar playing. They don't hear my yelling at my cat. I'm an angel.
I had a neighbor in college who only played one song on guitar, and it was Faith by George Michael. Very odd choice, and only that song.
If you had to pick one song, though, you could do worse.
Yes, this is true.
So I remember I lived next to a guy who was learning the bass, but he only learned the bass line to Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, and it was just he never advanced. He never did scales. Like he just played that. It's like challenge yourself. It's very simple.
Valerie and Doug seem to be very unhappy with each other and their lives until they hyperfixate on these their neighbors in this play. Why is that?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think they were unhappy. I just thought they were maybe a little bored. Maybe like a little. It's a little routine. I
Oh,
mean, I was trying to write about like what it's like to be in a long-term couple. The way
yeah.
you like the excitement, the drama of like what's going to happen between you is all settled, and what is it just to like, you just become best friends with somebody, and between the two of you, you just create your own reality, and you maybe don't even know until something else invades it that some ideas that the two of you talk about all the time that seems totally normal is actually like very bizarre.
Yeah. Where did you come up with the name French Italian? We see how they came up with it, but how did you come up with it?
That's exactly how I came up with it too. that I was, those are the beans I buy from Zabar's, and I one day I was like, wow, what a sophisticated name of the bean. I should use that for something. And then I was like, that's the stupidest thing I ever thought. And then I wrote that into the script.
What's your favorite thing to get from Zabar's?
Well, I'm dedicated to their coffee, obviously, and I'm a fan of their bagels. I usually just get like a plain fresh bagel and cream cheese, not toasted, plain cream cheese. And I do not wipe off the extra cream cheese when they put it on heavy. I eat all the cream cheese.
Oh, I like cream cheese on the side because I don't like excessive cream cheese.
Sure. Takes all kinds.
But then you can always use it for another bagel, which is my thought process.
Oh, that is thrifty.
Yes,
You can't be thrifty when you shop at Zabar's, though. Gotta say, you're decadent. You're spending on yourself.
this is true. So there's a play within the play. How did you go about crafting the play within the play? Did you write that sequentially while they were writing it? Was that a completely separate process? How did you fit that in?
Um, well, that was a real challenge because there are so many great movies and obviously plays that do a play within a play. And I wanted to make sure I was like in dialogue with the way other movies did it. So I watched a lot of references. I watched Waiting for Guffman and the producers, and I really like thought about what elements I wanted to include. And then I had written several rehearsal scenes, but I never actually wrote the play. I had wrote two monologues, and I wrote the rehearsal scenes. And then so the day before we did it, I called Ike Ufomadu, who plays the character. He plays, what's his name?
John?
Gosh, he's the actor. He plays the actor. And his name is Joe. And I was like, hey, I didn't write anything. Can you just wing it? And he was like, oh, yeah. And so he came in, and he and Ruby kind of improv'd. They had a few phrases, and they had some skeletons, but they really just riffed. And we were shooting it with two cameras, and I just was in the audience shouting suggestions at them, essentially. They're both very strong improvisers, and I knew that they were hilarious, and they really pulled it off. So it was great.
The set design is also hilarious too, because it's this elevated reality of like the only three things that they've seen from these people, which is the robe, the bong, and the karaoke machine. Was that the thought process as well?
Yeah, it's totally right. It's like these people have written a bad play. It's unresearched. They also don't know what a play is supposed to sound like, like a traditionally. So we had a lot of fun. And my production designer, Kit Sheridan, has a really good sense of humor, besides being a wonderful artist. And so she came up with like all these really funny ways to translate their lack of experience in the art world into visuals.
Do you think they kind of wanted a creative outlet? Because it seems like they mentioned that they wrote something in college at one point in time. Do you think they kind of fancied themselves in like another lifetime that they were going to be creatives, and like this was their epic moment and that it was good?
I mean, maybe, yeah, because I mean, especially because I do movies that like I feel like everybody kind of has a fantasy of themselves of like making a movie. Even people who don't really even care about movies and don't know about movies, they just like they picture themselves like in a little hat with like the writing, whatever, like a director and like yelling action. And so I think to that extent, these characters were like, yeah, it'd be cool, be an artist, wear a beret, yeah, go downtown. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think that's like when you're little and you sing the songs and you end up recording yourself. You're like, maybe I actually can sing, and then you realize that you actually can't sing.
No, but you never know when you're just going to discover you have a hidden talent that you're a genius. Because it does, I mean, when you watch a movie, you watch a play, it seems so effortless, right? A good one. And so it's easy to imagine like, oh, I could just walk out on the field and hit a home run because they make it look so easy. It's like, that's kind of the naivete is the joke, yeah.
Yeah. And there's also so many bad things that exist that you're just like, even if it was bad, like it still could be passable.
I mean, that's kind of the moral of the story. If you have good actors, you could never find out you're a bad writer, for sure.
So we see that John is also kind of the breakout star of the play. Why did you kind of decide that he could salvage this production?
I mean, I just thought that was the funniest way, because I had written the whole setup for what was going to happen, and then I was like, and how does it end? And I think like being salvaged by the true talent of the performer that they didn't choose, that they don't know anything about, that they don't even really direct, like was like the silliest ending, and also something you see kind of all the time. All the time you go see something that would be bad with a regular actor, but because it's got someone who's just like incredibly charismatic and talented in it, you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that. It's like, was the work good or was the performer good? I don't know. Does it matter?
Yeah. I'm not going to call anything out specifically, but I could name like 30 things off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I also love that the play really is like the personification of how Valerie and Doug have become such unreliable narrators at this point, and how their story keeps changing of what has happened with their neighbors.
Yes, totally. Yes. Thank you for picking up on that. Yeah. I mean, I think this whole movie is about like the way we're performing for each other, our friends or at work, and how you front a personality or a backstory, and it changes depending on who you're talking to, and that we kind of all do this all the time. And doing it on stage is just like a more extreme version of the way you do it, like at any party.
Yes. In kind of casting the movie, and especially with Mary, Was Chloe Cherry always in mind? Because I can't imagine anyone else playing Mary other than Chloe.
Oh my God. Me too. I no, I didn't know Chloe's work too well. I had written the script and then we were trying brainstorming who would play that part and my producer Miranda was like, "You got to see this woman, Chloe Cherry." And then I watched her on Euphoria and I was like, "Did she come out of my imagination?" Like she's so funny. She's so has such a unique look and she just is like out of another dimension. So she and I was like just incredibly lucky that she was in New York and wanted to do films that year. Was like into indies. So I was like, oh, okay, great. And she killed it. She really killed it. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's funny to compare this character to her Euphoria character because on Euphoria, obviously, there's a lot of drugs and stuff. But this character, she's a very chill and even kill girl. And it's just like, I'm going to roll with it. But also, hey, is this play actually just really bad? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she just like she has such a look that you really can project whatever you want onto Chloe, and that is like what the characters are doing to Mary. So I was like, oh, it was just out of a dream. So good.
um, what was your favorite scene to see come to life?
Oh, gosh. I mean, everything was funny. It was kind of amazing. Probably the stuff we did in the rehearsal room was my favorite, and everybody was cracking up, and each performer brought so much those days. We got to do those all back to back, so it was like we got in really deep into the minutia, and it's kind of amazing. At one point, Ruby McCollister and Aristotle Athari were making each other laugh so much that I had to shoot them separately. Like when there's scenes where they're talking to each other, and they had to play it against the stand-in because they were just like cracking each other up and couldn't finish the scene. But the two of them really had some chemistry. Like it was amazing.
If you went into a acquaintance's or like a colleague's apartment and it turns out that they had like a large workout machine, would you kind of question everything as if they were like giving you all this advice? Would you question their advice?
I mean, haven't we all had that experience where you go into somebody's house for the first time and you're like, oh, everything I thought I understood about you is now different? Yeah. I worry that people do that to me. You know what I mean? They come over here and they're like, oh, I didn't know what I didn't know.
But we see that they gave up their apartment supposedly for this because of the issues. Was that really the reasoning, or was it because we see Doug, who is like, he really emphasizes when when Valerie doesn't have a job that, oh, he's the breadwinner. Did they also move because they didn't have any money anymore?
I mean, I think money is always a factor. The idea, if they had a rent stabilized apartment, it's usually not too expensive, but free is cheaper, right? I think there is some push pull between Valerie and Doug and whether they want to actually live in the city or if they'd be happy in the burbs. And like, can you be, is it, especially like, you know, late 20s, early 30s, around this mark, a lot of people are like, I don't want to deal with the city anymore. I'm not dating, I'm not going out that much. Why don't we just live somewhere quiet and nice? And then some people are like, no, 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 that would be death. That would be instant death. So that's just some push pull in there.
Would you have given up the apartment?
I hung on to my rent stabilized apartment. I will never give it up.
Was there a scene or anything that was cut for time or just didn't make sense once you were putting it together?
Yeah, there were a few things. I mean, this is a low budget movie, so almost everything we shot is in there because we didn't have the budget to shoot a lot of extra. But there was the one scene that I shot where they were like making a playbill for the play. That was really funny, and I had cast my mom and my stepbrother in it. I was like, I got them to do me a big favor and come act in the movie, and then I had to call them and be like, sorry, you're cut. You're cut of the film.
So how does it feel to premiere this at Tribeca?
Well, I got let's see, 6 hours to go.
Oh my God.
It's tonight, so I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, pretty amped. So far, I mean, obviously, we've only seen like a small percentage of the reception, but it's been really positive, and everyone at Tribeca has been very positive. So we're hoping for the best.
I think it's going to go well.
Thanks, I hope so too. Yeah. You know what's cool is like the movie's done. Nothing I can do now. So I hope they like it. I did it.
So, do you know what you would like to work on next?
Yeah, I have a new script for like a slightly more ambitious but similarly toned kind of dark comedy that I'm hoping to get going later this year. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to say too much about it, but yeah, I'm hoping to make more movies.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Congrats on your premiere tonight. I did not know that.
Oh,
And
yes.
I can't wait to talk to you about future projects.
Thank you so much for watching the film, for liking it, and for all these thoughtful questions. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you again.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.